This is KXLY-TV, Channel 4, Spokane.
This is News 4's Weekend Report.
Good evening. The Soviet spy satellite Cosmos 1402 is down, at least a large chunk of it is, harmlessly as it turns out, as far as can be determined. The satellite entered the Earth's atmosphere at 2:21 local time today over the Indian Ocean, and the debris that did not burn up is drifting down far from any landmass. The tiny island of Diego Garcia is about 980 miles from the satellite's point of re-entry. All of this information came not from Moscow, but from Washington, from the Pentagon, where we get the latest from John McWethy.
On its final orbit around the Earth, Cosmos 1402 passed over the eastern part of the United States, then western Europe and the Middle East. It finally punched through the upper atmosphere while over the Indian Ocean, and there, presumably, fell harmlessly into the water hundreds of miles from any land. Cosmos 1402 was used by the Soviets for ocean surveillance, primarily to keep track of American aircraft carrier battle groups around the world. The satellite, which weighed some 5,000 pounds, got into trouble in December. It was then that the Soviets tried to break it into several sections with the intention of boosting the front part of the satellite into a higher orbit. That was the part of the satellite containing the 1,000-pound nuclear reactor and 110 pounds of atomic fuel. The maneuver failed, and the main body of the satellite did not break apart. Although U.S. space trackers are certain that the nuclear reactor was in the satellite body that plunged back to Earth this evening, they are not sure if the fuel rods were. Still in orbit is another, much smaller piece of the satellite that could be those fuel elements. It is expected to be pulled back to Earth about February 10th, and because it is so small, scientists expect it to be completely destroyed upon re-entry. The main byproduct from today's re-entry was probably a few pieces of burnt metal and a light shower of radioactive particles resembling ground pepper. Pentagon officials doubt any part of Cosmos 1402 will ever be recovered. But they expect the Soviet Union to again go back to the drawing board on these spacecraft to avoid being embarrassed again by a runaway satellite with a nuclear payload. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
This is Tracy Vetter. Shortly after noon today, emergency services were notified of the possibility that the satellite Cosmos might make one additional orbit, coming down somewhere in eastern Washington. Law enforcement agencies were contacted, and a standby alert was issued.
And all we could do is alert, people. We alerted the city of Spokane, I think, Sheriff Terry Novak, to the fact that we had received information from emergency services that possibly Spokane County and the area could be in the path of the falling debris, and that the path would probably be anywhere from 50 miles wide to 100 miles long.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency had warned that if the satellite made an additional orbit before disintegrating, radioactive particles could have fallen in eastern Washington. But Morris says there was such a slim chance of that happening that the emergency broadcast system was not put in operation.
We felt that we would have adequate time once, its definite path was known, that we could go to the people. And, basically all you could do is stay in your house or stay in your automobile.
Spokane's Emergency Services Director says local hospitals were not put on standby. Lieutenant Earl Brown says they can activate in such a short time that an alert wasn't necessary. Once Cosmos 1402 entered the Earth's atmosphere and plunged into the Indian Ocean, the Phase 1 alert for eastern Washington was terminated. Tracy Vetter, News 4.
An Athol, Idaho man was killed in an air crash shortly after 3 this afternoon. 32-year-old Wayne Norton died when the plane he was flying went down a quarter-mile west of the Henley Aerodrome just south of Athol. Norton was flying alone in his Pitts S-1, and authorities say the cause of the accident is unknown. An investigation is being handled by the Federal Aviation Administration. A fatal traffic accident took the life of a Challis, Idaho man last night. The mishap occurred on Highway 75 near Clayton, Idaho at about midnight. The driver, 37-year-old Steve Smith, was killed when he lost control and rolled his vehicle 1 mile north of Clayton. His passenger, 36-year-old Rick Johnson, also from Challis, suffered only minor injuries. Still to come on the Weekend Report, Washington's second lottery gets underway tonight at midnight, and Spokane residents still seem to be in the mood to take a chance. Details when we return.
If you want to smoke, that's your business. If you want to stop smoking, that's our business. We're smoke enders. And over the last 11 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands of people quit smoking painlessly. Now, we'd like to help you. You're invited to a free meeting where you'll learn without any obligation how you can quit smoking permanently without drugs, scare tactics, hypnosis, cold turkey withdrawal, or willpower. That's right. At the Free Smoke Enders meeting, you bring your cigarettes, smoke as much as you want, and keep on smoking for weeks as you learn how to quit the easy way without gaining weight.
Bring your cigarettes and attend a free Smoke Enders introductory meeting today and tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. in the Valley at the Red Lion Motor Inn at Sullivan Road. And in downtown Spokane at the Sheraton, just east of River Park Center. If you want to smoke, that's your business. If you want to quit, that's ours.
Confused about gasoline prices? Come to Zip Trip. Same low prices, cash or Shell credit card.
Tickets go on sale at midnight tonight for Washington State's second big lottery game. Tracy Vetter reports on Spokaneite's reaction to the Washington Doubler.
This could almost be the theme song for Washington State's second lottery game, the Washington Doubler. The rules are much the same as the first game, but with the promise of double stakes if a ticket holds 2 matching dollar amounts and a clover. News 4 questioned Spokane residents on the lottery, and although none of them had been big winners, most thought they'd continue buying tickets.
There's always that one chance that you might win something.
It was fun. I always thought I would win, but I didn't.
Did that discourage you?
A little, but the thing I like about it is I feel it's a voluntary tax, and so it's helping our state, and so I feel that it's still contributing to our economic well-being.
About $4 out of $14 invested.
Did that discourage you?
Yes.
Are you going to buy any this time?
Probably.
People will always gamble, and you know, if that's where they want to put their money and it helps the state, you're not going to keep them from it. You're just keeping them from the horse tracks or some other place.
And you'll buy some more when they go on sale?
Probably, foolishly.
Tracy Vetter, News 4.
Spokane County Commissioners may be the only county employees with a slight cost of living increase this year, but about 50% of other county employees will be receiving 5% step increases during 1983. Step increases are given annually for experience gained in a particular job. Commissioner Keith Shepard says the county hasn't settled 1983 contracts with any of the employee unions yet, but they're not planning to grant any cost of living increases this year, and Shepard believes taking away step increases probably wouldn't be very well received.
These step increases were negotiated into those positions years ago, and we did discuss whether or not to eliminate any step increases too, but we thought that would probably create a lot of havoc, that we had enough, and so we let them continue.
Commissioners had been scheduled for a 7% increase this year, voted in by a previous board. The current board voted themselves a 5% cut during the budget process, leaving Shepard and Commissioner John McBride 2% ahead of the game. Grant Peterson's salary was actually reduced. Bondholders in a lawsuit against Washington Public Power Supply System and 88 Northwest Utilities are asking the state Supreme Court to move up the trial date. Whoops and the utilities should begin making payments this week on a debt owed for 2 abandoned nuclear power plants at Hanford. But few are expected to pay until the High Court hears an appeal on earlier rulings. No ruling is expected before April unless the court grants the request for an earlier trial date. Coming up next in sports, Paul Olden will have details on the retirement of tennis great Bjorn Borg, who says he's run out of steam. Details in 1 minute.
Get happy. Get happy.
Now they're getting happy. New Happy Cat from Purina, the new moist and meaty tasting cat food. Happy Cat stays fresh and meaty tasting in the bowl so cats can come back for more all day.
Get happy.
New Happy Cat cat food. Its delicious meaty taste makes cats happy all day.
Step into a Fossum paint and flooring store and you'll find rows of carpet samples and remnants, a wall full of vinyl flooring and tile, even 5 shelves full of wallpaper ideas, and of course Benjamin Moore quality paints and accessories. Whether you're starting one room or doing the whole house, you'll find everything you need at Fossum Paints and Flooring.
The Bright Idea Store.
Good evening, everyone. A lot has occurred today in sports. Miami earned the right to play Washington in the Super Bowl with a shutout of the New York Jets. Seattle Supersonics lost again on the road tonight, and one of the most dominant tennis players of all time, Bjorn Borg, announced his retirement from the game, which has made him a multimillionaire, but not a totally happy person. First, we talk about the Seattle Supersonics being beaten in New Jersey by the Nets. Buck Williams scored 21, hauled in 20 rebounds to hand the Sonics their 18th loss of the season. We take a look. First of all, Seattle's Jack Sikma fires from the outside as the Nets and Sonics played it close all the way. For New Jersey, Otis Birdsong finds the range as he tries to come back from last season's injuries. Now New Jersey's fast break. Mickey Johnson with the rebound, passing to Mike Jaminsky, then to Sleepy Floyd for the jam. But the Sonics can run too. Freddie Brown making the steal and gives to Mark Radford, who is off and running for a hoop and a foul. The game was tied at halftime. And Larry Brown, the Nets coach, wondering if his clothes will get him a good spot in Malibu. Now to the fourth quarter we go. Jack Sikma has fouled out, but the Sonics get a hoop here to tie the game at 96 all. Later down by 2, Albert King ties it 100 all with this jumper, and after a foul, King gives New Jersey a lead they won't give up. Final score, New Jersey 105, Sonics 102. Elsewhere in the NBA tonight, Portland nipped San Antonio 108-107, Boston over Cleveland 105-91. It was Milwaukee stopping Philadelphia 107-96. Phoenix defeating Kansas City 102-92, and the Los Angeles Lakers defeating Indiana 105-102. We look at that game from the land of the Lakers, the fabulous Forum in Inglewood, California. Pacers try to break a 8-game Laker winning streak. Herb Williams with that basket in the fourth quarter. However, the Lakers got to come back. They will take a 1-point lead as Jamal Wilkes gets the ball from Kurt Rambis off the miss, and Lakers lead 101-100. L.A. on a roll with that winning streak. Now, after a couple of Indiana free throws, the Lakers came back to take the lead for good. Bob McAdoo hitting this jumper. And later, McAdoo will ice the game with a free throw to give the Lakers a 105-102 victory over Indiana. There was college basketball action today. Third-ranked Memphis State defeated North Carolina State 57-53, and 11th-ranked Missouri was upset by Marquette 60-59 in overtime. Turning to pro football, the AFC Championship game was played on a muddy field and at times was also sullied by several turnovers. The Dolphins, however, made good use of their breaks to beat New York 14-0. So it's Miami and Washington in the Super Bowl. In the Orange Bowl, sold out, of course, a rainy day in Miami. Both coaches donned their game faces, ready for the title game. After a scoreless first half, Richard Todd back to pass, looking for someone to throw. But there is A.J. Dewey, the first of his 3 interceptions on the afternoon. That sets up the most controversial play of the day. Andrew Franklin of Miami takes the ball from Woodley. He's hit, looks like he fumbles. The Jets think so. However, the officials meet and disagree. And Jets coach Walt Michaels is wondering, what? Huh? Miami drive continues. From the shotgun, Woodley steps up, throws, connects to Duriel Harris. Put Miami inside the 10-yard line. Seconds later, backup fullback Woody Bennett, a former Jet himself, takes it into the end zone. Bennett will have trouble getting up. Watch this. Jerry Butler kicks the air. Everybody's upset. There goes some toilet paper flying all over the place. Miami leading 7-0 later. Richard Todd back to pass. Here's another interception by A.J. Dewey, and he is off to the races this time. 40 yards. Touchdown. 14-0 Dolphins. And Coach Shula tells Bill Arnsparger, his defensive coach, we've done it again. Dolphins win 14-0. For those of you who like this sort of thing, listen up. According to a Super Bowl stock market predictor, the outcome of the 1983 stock market will depend on the winner of the Super Bowl. If the Redskins win, the market will score a gain for the year, but if the Dolphins win, stock prices will lose ground. Now, the theory developed by Robert Stovall of Dean Witter Reynolds has worked 15 of the past 16 games. Something even harder to predict these days is when the Spokane Chiefs Hockey Club will next win. It wasn't today. Spokane was beaten by Nelson 5-1. Over at the Coliseum, second period, Brian DiBiaso carrying the puck up ice. He finds Kent Reardon on left wing, and Russ Gullo is a beaten man. Reardon scored twice today. Kent had another chance later on in the third period, picking up a loose puck, but his backhand try is knocked away. Tough day for the Chiefs all around here on a two-man power play advantage. Nelson goalie Mario DeBella stops Mike Stone. And Stone and Lauren Anderson get to know each other a little better. Don Burgess scored later for Spokane, but the final score, Chiefs losing to Nelson 5-1. In the National Hockey League tonight, Washington defeated New Jersey 3-1. It was Buffalo over Winnipeg 5-2. Flyers defeated Rangers 3-1. Edmonton over Los Angeles 8-5. And Chicago defeating Hartford 4-2. Elsewhere in sports today, in golf, Keith Fergus needed just one playoff hole to win the $375,000 Bob Hope Desert Classic. Fergus fired a 7-under par 65 to tie Rex Caldwell after 5 rounds of regulation. Both men had finished at 25 under par. Keith Fergus there. Meanwhile, Yvonne Lendl in the far court defeated John McEnroe 6-4, 6-4, 6-2 to capture the Masters Tennis Tournament in New York. Let's watch the rest of this point as Lendl goes back. The backhand return by John McEnroe. McEnroe charging, but he's passed. Lendl has earned more than $2 million for the season. As we mentioned earlier, Bjorn Borg apparently has lost the desire he once had and used to dominate the men's tennis circuit for several years. Today, Borg announced his retirement from the game. Dick Schaap tells of the history and mastery of Bjorn Borg.
The turning point came in the match for the 1981 Wimbledon Championship. Bjorn Borg's bid for his 6th straight title in tennis's most revered tournament. Borg's bid failed. John McEnroe beat him, ended Borg's unbeaten Wimbledon string of 41 consecutive matches. A victory that so moved McEnroe, he fell briefly to his knees, which was Borg's trademark method of celebrating a major victory. 2 months later, McEnroe won the U.S. Open, the only championship that has always eluded Borg, and suddenly, after a 5-year reign, at the age of 25, Bjorn Borg was no longer the undisputed king of tennis. Borg didn't quit, not then, but he decided to take a vacation, a rest from tournament tennis.
You know, for the last 5-6 years now, I had a lot of pressure on me every time I, walked out to that tennis court, and everyone accepted me to win all my matches.
Borg came back to tennis, but the fire never came back to his game. He could still outplay almost all of the world's best players, but he couldn't play like Bjorn Borg.
Bjorn Borg retiring after one more match coming up in April. That'll do it in sports. Back with more news and weather after this.
The Inland Northwest Great Men of Olds have some great news. 11.9 annual percentage rate financing is now available to retail buyers of any new Oldsmobile before March 31st. Or get 11.9% on your new Olds if you order before February 28th. Choose from any of the beautiful new 1983 Oldsmobiles. Now here is where you get 11.9% financing. Come on in today. Your Inland Northwest Olds dealer will save you hundreds of dollars.
Every week you see the circulars from supermarkets in your mailbox, advertising items on sale. Maybe you wonder why Tidyman's Warehouse Foods doesn't advertise this way. We couldn't do a mailer to tell you about our price values because every item in Tidyman's Warehouse Foods is priced lower to save you more. Our mailer would be as thick as a telephone book. You don't need a weekly mailer to tell you what's on sale at our stores. You know you're going to save 15% on your total food bill at Tidyman's Warehouse Foods. We're the ones with the stripes.
OPEC oil ministers meeting in Geneva reportedly made some progress toward reaching agreement on the 2 key issues of price and production today. One minister is quoted as saying Saudi Arabia has agreed to a reduced price drop linked with a new lower production ceiling. But others say little has been accomplished and the talks may continue tomorrow. More on the story from Ron DePaulis.
Faced with a worldwide oil glut brought on by weak demand, the oil-producing export countries held their second emergency session in a month in hopes of avoiding a collapse of the cartel. Most members want the price held at the benchmark of $34 a barrel, but a few producers like Iran have been discounting the price to improve sales. Some OPEC ministers urged unity and strict production quotas as a way of preserving prices, but others were expected to go along only if production cutbacks are coupled with price reduction to stimulate sales. Ron DePaulis, ABC News.
Oil industry analyst Dan Lundberg says the average price of gasoline is dropping across the country. He says regular unleaded gasoline at service stations average under $1.16 a gallon. Prices fell almost 2 cents in the past 2 weeks alone and dropped a nickel a gallon this past month. We'll have the weather details with Karen Getman coming up next.
In a town like yours, someone is about to taste their first oatmeal scotchie. About to savor the homemade taste of the oatmeal scotchie recipe. About about to discover the incredible difference that Nestle butterscotch morsels can make in an oatmeal cookie. About to experience a richness that will change their perception of oatmeal cookies forever.
Hey, these taste better.
Nestle Oatmeal Scotchies. They taste better.
Watch what we do with this picture of a lemon to demonstrate the effectiveness of television. First, we add color. Then sound and motion. And finally, emotion. Now, we don't want to sour you on other advertising media, but let's face it, television works. Call us and discover just how effectively television could work for you.
Roast beef and the bread and the tomato, Swiss cheese and miracle. Oh no.
A sandwich just isn't a sandwich without Miracle Whip salad dressing, the bread spread from Kraft.
Some very strong low pressure off the Pacific coast is making its way east and pushing a cold front ahead of it. That means some very strong winds and more precipitation for the state. There are gale warnings in effect tonight for the coasts of Oregon and Washington. They're expecting winds around 40 miles an hour steady with gusts up to 60 miles an hour. There are also some strong wind warnings for the counties of Snoqualmie, King, and Pierce, where they're also expecting very strong winds. They might have power outages and some trees falling down. Also, a traveler's advisory is in effect for the Cascade Passes of Washington and Oregon, where they're expecting heavy snow and blowing snow tonight. Again, with winds around 45 to 50 miles an hour and gusts up to 60. It is snowing currently on some of those passes. Many of them are requiring and recommending snow tires. Most of the rain that fell today fell early this morning. There weren't very heavy amounts. The most was about ½ an inch over in Portland. Otherwise, Idaho and Montana were mostly clear. Currently in Spokane, it's about 38 degrees. The high today was 44, still mild temperatures for January. The dew point is 33, and the winds are moderately strong out of the northeast at 10 miles an hour. On the national map, a couple of storms in the east are keeping things kind of sloppy there. Some snow, just light snow, and some fog around the Great Lakes. Some freezing rain in the New England states. Travelers' advisories are in effect tonight for freezing rain in Maryland and Virginia. Also up in New York, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Fog along the eastern seaboard. Heavy rain down in Florida today, nearly 8 inches in Key West, Florida, and over 2 inches in Jacksonville. To the west, there are gale warnings all along the Pacific coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. There are winter storm warnings and watches for Lake Tahoe and northeastern California, and also those travelers' advisories for the Washington and Oregon Cascades, and also the Siskiyou Mountains of Oregon. Cool Arctic air is still flowing down into the northern plains from Canada. Now, the satellite map should show some heavy clouds off the Pacific coast. Do expect some precipitation by tonight. The regional forecast does call for rain or snow, light snow throughout. Highs 35 to 45, lows in the 20s. Spokane, Coeur d'Alene vicinity calls for 50% chance of rain or snow tonight and a low around 33. Tomorrow, that chance of rain will increase to 70%. Possibility of snow there too, a low around 28 and a high around 41. Well, that's a look at the weather. We'll be back with a final story right after this.
Wartime Italy. A man in hiding. The inventor of a top-secret weapon in the Axis arsenal. Now, he has turned against the Nazis. A team of American OSS agents has been sent to smuggle this inventive genius out of the war zone and over to the Allied side. It was another confrontation between the OSS and Germany's counter-espionage forces. Another episode in The Secret War, the volume that begins World War II from Time Life books. The classified files have been opened at last to reveal a shadow world of codebreakers, spies, and saboteurs. Operation Double Cross that captured every spy the Germans infiltrated into England. The tricks used to hide the D-Day assault force until it was too late for Hitler to stop it. It shows you the weapons the spies carried, the equipment they used. Now you can enter this world. A toll-free call will bring you the secret war. Look it over for 10 days. If you keep it, pay just $12.95 plus shipping and handling. Then you can examine following volumes, one about every other month. Same price, same depth of detail. Photographs from Allied sources, eyewitness accounts, the complete story. In Blitzkrieg, the Nazi war machine lashes out. The air war in Europe takes you on the 1,000-plane raid over Hamburg. It's Rommel against Montgomery in the war in the desert. And if you call now, these 6 full-color prints of famous World War II fighter planes come as a bonus when you buy The Secret War. World War II Time Life Books recaptures it all. Here's the number to call.
In the U.S., phone 1-800-228-5666. In Canada, phone 1-800-268-6364. Operator 686B. And get your first volume to examine for 10 days with no obligation to buy. So phone 1-800-228-5666. In Canada, 1-800-268-6364. Operator 686B.
Finally tonight, think of movie making and you think of Hollywood, right? Well, right and wrong. While many movies are made in Tinseltown, in recent years other cities have vied for and gotten a piece of that movie-making pie. In Utah, the industry has grown so much that it even has its own film festival. We get more from Jody Reed.
Mr. Stewart, it's the uncompromising portrait of frontier...